In the last 3 years of my med school, I have given more exams than I can count, with the new one happening every 2 months and a syllabus that seems never ending. Initially, I struggled to find a balance between what to study and what to leave, how to frame the paper and how to manage time. But now, through experience and trial, I have come up with the best way to prepare and write for theory exam that will consistently give you the best results, no matter what the subject. Hi everyone, my name is Anuj. I'm a third year MBBS student at Government Medical College Nagpur. I secured an all-India rank of 885 in NEET. This is the genius strategy using which you can top literally any single exam if you put your heart into it. Without any further ado, let's go. So the part 1 will be focusing upon how do you prepare for the exam, and the part 2 will be focusing on how you can write that particular exam. Let's go. The first step in the genius is the G, and that G is basically glory. And what I mean by glory is falling in love with the subject. This is a direct major determinant of how much effort are you going to put into learning that particular subject. If you don't like it, you just won't study it. So step 1 is falling in love with your subject and finding out what the glory of the subject is. Remember that the subject is never bad. The book is either bad, or you are not reading it properly, or your teacher is not teaching it to you properly. That is the only reason why you feel like a certain subject can be bad. If you start off with a negative emotion, you will never be able to put your complete heart into learning that particular thing. So no matter what your seniors or your batch may tell you, please believe that PSM is a good subject. One of the most simple ways in which you can do this is by visualizing what the subject is actually trying to tell you. For example, I memorized how the cold chain works by imagining there is a worker who goes into the factory and picks up a box of vaccines from the walk-in freezer, and then he delivers it to the sub-center where people use the cold box to administer the vaccine to the individual. Another most effective way to fall in love with the subject is by actually trying it out. For example, you might have postings in your clinical wards. Go into the wards, go into the medicine or the surgery ward and find out what interests you. In this way, whenever you start to see clinical cases, you will automatically fall in love with the subject. This is actually a true story. I did not like PSM, but once my postings of PSM was done, once I actually went into the immunization clinic, I watched babies getting immunized. It actually showed me the importance of that particular subject and I started liking it. Right, so my second point is called as Enroll, and Enroll means basically enrolling into the subject and actually understanding each and every single word of what that particular subject is trying to teach you. It used to happen a lot with me that I used to find a line which I did not understand, so I would skip it over and the same line would be asked to me in the exam, and the examiner would ask me to explain this line from this textbook, and I could not because I did not understand it well enough. So the main point over here is go to any depths to understand each and every single word that a subject is trying to tell you, because it is valuable and somehow, some way or the other, it's going to find a use in your life. The most central part of this inquisitiveness is called as curiosity. If you're not curious about what is happening, you won't seek out for answers and will leave a lot of the stuff behind. The N in genius stands for notes, and making your own notes is very central to reducing your time for revision. The only reason why you would make notes is so that the next time you're reading it, you don't have to open the textbook. Instead, you will use your notes to revise. Make your notes so precise, so concise, so full of information that whenever you open that notes up, reading 2-3 pages should give you the information of an entire chapter. Just like making notes saves you time, CashKaro saves you money. Now that was smooth. It is important that we recognize the value of savings, and each of these small savings can be very beneficial to us in the long run. We all get happy when we get a return gift, don't we? Be it in the form of cashback or vouchers. So CashKaro is here to give you rewards on every online shopping you do on Amazon, Myntra, Agio and 1500 other such sites. Just go to them via CashKaro. It is like a piggy bank in which you can transfer this real cashback into your bank account. And the app is Indian and funded by Shri Ratan Tata, and that was one of the reasons I said yes when they approached me for this sponsorship. Using the app is very simple. Just download it from the link in the description or directly download it from the Play Store or the App Store and use my code Anuj25 for an instant 25 rupees cashback. Search for your favorite website and click activate cashback, and then go ahead and shop normally. Add to cart and purchase, and now you've got the cashback in your My Earnings section. It's your choice whether to transfer it to your bank account or use it as a voucher. So download CashKaro now, there's the link in the description, and also wait till the end, there's a massive giveaway which I'll announce. If you go ahead and make your notes too beautiful and too pretty, that will in the end lead to decreased productivity, because you will be only focusing much more on how to make your notes very pretty instead of making the best use of the space. While making your own notes, make sure that you don't make a revised edition of a textbook. So for example, this is surgery textbook. When I'm making notes from this, I have to make sure that I am not making a revised edition of the entire textbook. It has to be selective. There has to be a balance between context and compression. Your notes should also include a ton of diagrams which are going to be useful for you. Some of the diagrams which you can draw from the textbook should be put in your notes. Apart from that, those which you can come up by your own should also be included. Your notes should also have a lot of flowcharts which will help you understand the concepts in a very easier manner. For example, the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone mechanism can be read in 3 or 4 paragraphs, or it could be understood in just 5 or 6 simple steps of the flowchart. In this way, you will save your time while revising. Remember, these are the notes that you're going to be using on the last day, so make them very crisp and don't worry about how they look like. If you're preparing for an exam which is very question and answer type based, that is, a question is coming and you have to answer it in particular 10 points, then make sure that you make your notes in that way. For example, these are notes that I made on the chapter Neoplasia from Pathology, and as you can see, here are the questions and here are the answers to that particular question, so that whenever this question is asked to me, I can write down whatever I have exactly written down over here. Lastly, there is the fourth point, that is memorizing the subject, and I call it to be impaling, and that is the I in the genius. Impaling means to throw the trident at somebody and that trident goes through. So that is impaling, and this is the point where you're going to be actually tackling the subject from the core, and you're going to be learning and memorizing every single point of the subject. No matter what study techniques you read about on blogs or watch videos on YouTube, it all just boils down to this one simple line: sit down and study. That's it. That's the only way you have to achieve this. But here are some points which are going to help you reduce the friction and reduce your procrastination, actually help you get to your target quicker. Alright, so the first one is study in bursts. Sit down for 4 hours, remove all the distractions, and go into that focus mode, into that Zen mode, and just study continuously. That 4 hours of study in the Zen mode is much more fruitful than a 10-hour study you are doing in an unproductive manner. One thing I like to do at this point is add a visual timer so that I know how much time is left to complete a particular topic, and usually set very high goals for yourself, because even if you end up failing those goals, you will be higher than those goals people have set for themselves. Now, there is something called as the law of diminishing returns, which is very important to consider at this time. If you are doing this 4-hour sessions 4 times in a day, 16 hours of study, they won't be fruitful for you. The reason is, in the first 4 hours you're going to study a lot. In the next 4 hours thoda sa decrease ho jayega. In the next it will go down even further. So the effort that you're putting will give you diminished returns. So make sure that you use this study burst max to max 1 or 2 times. Other times use something called as the Pomodoro method, in which you actually actively solve questions, write down the answers, practice diagrams, something active, not just reading passively. The U in the Genius strategy stands for using your mind and simulating an exam and actually giving it inside your home, inside your hostel, so that whenever that paper comes to you, you actually know what you have to write. So here's a true story. I used to give at least 1 or 2 a grand test every single day when I was preparing for NEET UG, and before 30 or 35 days I started doing that, and gradually I noticed improvement in my time management, improvement in the ability to handle the pressure, and improvement in the amount of questions I was getting correct. Unless and until you don't fight your enemy in your trial run, you won't really know how to fight it in the actual battlefield. And that's the entire point over here. Simulate the environment in which you're going to be giving your paper. If your paper is from 2 to 5, sit down at 2 to 5 and give the paper. At the same time, give a previous year paper, so that it helps you, actually have an experience of what your seniors did when it was their turn. I suggest giving at least 3 sets of paper before your actual exam comes, so that time you won't have to struggle anything. Here is an example of the papers which I gave for second year. Here's an example for third year. So as you can see, I've been doing this for a pretty long time. And if you're a long time member of the channel, you might know that I've also made a study with me episode in which I solved a lot of papers. By the way, if you aren't, please consider subscribing. Making videos such as this one take a huge amount of time and effort, and subscribing would just take 2 seconds, and you can always change your mind later. Anyways, moving on to the last step, that is S. The S in the Genius stands for smash. So this is actually how to write your exams, and this deserves a separate video of its own, but here I'm going to cover all the valuable lessons. This single smash step will increase your score by more than 50% if you're doing it right. So this step applies 1 day before the exam, during the day of the exam, and during the exam itself. So there are basic steps which you have to follow. 1 day before the exam, make sure that you are revising everything at least once or twice. Log bolte hai ki before the exams don't study that much, your long-term preparation will help you. It will, I'm sure of it, but you have to fit all the facts which are unnecessary into your short-term memory, because if a question comes from that, your short-term memory is the only thing which is going to actually help you. Use that beautiful notes textbook that we talked about in the step N, and that is the only thing which will save you over here, because you can't revise this entire textbook 3 or 4 times before the exam comes up. Make sure that you draw the flowcharts of the concepts so that you can actually draw them in your examinations, and select at least 10 most important questions that you feel are going to be coming in your exam tomorrow, and write those down your copy as you were to write it in your exams. If you haven't prepared up until this step, the only thing that can save you is starting to prepare right now from the notes that your friends made. Next, a mistake that most people make is not getting enough sleep. So they start off at 7 in the morning and they study till the next morning 7. That usually happens in medical colleges, and then they go for the paper at 9 in the morning. So what happens is that jitna tumne padha hota hai, you forget that because your brain hasn't got enough rest. So make sure you get yourself at least 5.5 hours to 6 hours of sleep, more if you require it, so that the next day at least you will remember what you have studied. Alright, the day of the exam is here and you are fully prepared with the Genius strategy. So here's what you have to do. This is your notes. Just open this. With this exact speed, you just look at your notes. That way you will just skim through the entire subject without you even realizing you have read it, because your mind will connect the dots because you've studied that notes 100 times by now. Another point is believe in yourself. Tell yourself that you shall prevail, and the study that you have done up until now will actually come very handy to you, come very fruitful to you, and you will answer every single questions. Guys, confidence at this point is very, very crucial. If you're not confident, your exam will not go well. Don't eat a lot of food, especially the proteinaceous as well as the fatty meals. Don't have that. Have something carbohydrate, because that will directly give you energy and it is very easy to digest. Right, so now the invigilator is about to hand you the question paper, what to do this 1, 2, 3 seconds before the exams. So this is probably the first time anybody on YouTube is making how to study for exams in 5 seconds. But anyway, tell yourself that the paper is easy and maintain your confidence, and no matter what, you will smash it. As soon as you receive the paper, just go through the questions, eliminate the options which you're not going to write. Next, from the very first minute of the examination, hurry up. Don't let yourself believe that I'll do this later. Fix a certain time interval for every single question. I'll give like 12 minutes for each short note, and make sure that you solve that short note within 12 minutes. And if you're hurrying from the first moment itself, you will have plenty of time to write long questions which are more important in the last part. Also remember, in here the most important point is playing with the psychology of the examiner. So the thing is, your first question, your first answer which you're writing in your answer sheet will determine the image that the examiner is having of you. If you write it so beautiful, if you don't make a single grammatical mistake or scratch any single time, make flowcharts, make diagrams, the examiner automatically thinks this guy knows what he's writing about, and immediately at that point your ranking elevates inside the mind of the examiner. Now what will happen is that whichever questions the examiner is going to be checking, he will feel like, okay, this guy knows something, that means he might have written it correctly. So even if you do some small minor mistakes, they might overlook it, thinking that okay, that might have happened by accident. So the first question is the most important question of your exam. Start with the question which you know the best. Make sure that your impression on the examiner is perfect, so that when they check your answer sheet, they feel like you are an intelligent student, even though you might not be. The general rule which you should keep in mind is make a diagram for each question, make a flowchart for each question, and write in points. If you're following these 3 things, your exam is done. Beautiful, you have knocked out everything and you will succeed. And my friends, that was the Genius strategy to literally top every single exam which you can imagine. And only step that is left right now is to hit the subscribe button on the channel, because it would mean a lot to me. And also, if you like the video, please make sure to hit the like button, because it helps the YouTube algorithm promote this videos to people who actually might like it, and that helps out a lot. As mentioned earlier about the giveaway, 5 lucky winners will get Amazon vouchers of worth ₹500. Just download CashKaro from the link in the description and do a small transaction, be it Swiggy. Start saving from today. Anyways, thanks for watching. It's your boy Anuj. I'm a 3rd year MBBS student, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.